You down with OPP? Not the song, but other people's podcasts. By leveraging other people's podcasts, you can elevate your brand and amplify your voice. Are you ready to build confidence around using OPP? Stick around for this episode of Unleash Your Audacious Confidence.
The City of Miami Gardens presents JITG Music Fest. New edition. Tony Braxton, DJ Cassidy's Pass the Mic Live, starring Ja Rule, Fat Joe, and Remy Ma. Slick Rick and Dougie Fresh. Beanie Man, Escape, Coco Jones, Kim. Also, a special set featuring Miss Lauryn Hill, Wyclef Jean, YG Marley, Busta Rhymes, Doechii, and many more. JITG Music Fest, March 8th and 9th at Hard Rock Stadium. Tickets at jazzinthegardens.com.
Welcome to Unleash Your Audacious Confidence on Win-Win Women TV. This show is all about sharing the tips, tools, and techniques that will allow you to step boldly in the direction of your dreams despite your feelings, fears, or past failures. To imagine what's possible for yourself and live the life you deserve.
Ooh, I need a little light. Well, hello, and welcome to this episode of Unleash Your Audacious Confidence here on Win-Win Women TV. And for those of you who are joining us, welcome to our channel. I am your host, Alicia Couri, and I'm excited to share our topic today because it's all about leveraging OPP, other people's podcasts. Yay! So first of all, I want to just invite you to connect with us on all our social channels. You can go to alicia360.com and you'll find our various websites. Just join, you can join our mailing list on our website and just be a part of the studio audience here. Every time we have a show, we'll let you know. And we have been doing this now for a few weeks where we're giving out action guides. So after the show, you can download the action guide and actually take action on all the things that we're sharing with you in the show. So if you go to redcarpetceo.com, redcarpetceo.com is where you can find the resources. You can find all our shows as well as the resource guides. So you can take advantage of those things. So today on the show, we are sharing about how to really elevate your brand and amplify your voice using other people's podcasts, not just other people's platforms, but other people's podcasts specifically. So why should we consider using a podcast to amplify our voice and elevate our brands? Well, there are various reasons, and the biggest reason I will tell you is that there are over 460,000 podcasts on Apple's iTunes alone. There are over 6 million podcasts on Spotify. And there are millions, they don't even have a number, millions of podcasts on YouTube. They're video podcasts as well as audio podcasts. If you don't like video, you can just do audio podcasts. If you don't mind, you have a wide ocean of opportunity by starting to leverage these podcasts. And, you might be thinking, yeah, well, I don't want to start my own podcast. I don't really want to dive into the world of podcasting. I just like to listen to podcasts. Well, if you have a business and you like listening to podcasts, who else do you think likes listening to podcasts? Could it possibly be your audience? Do you think maybe they like listening to podcasts? Do you think maybe they might want to hear your story or about your business? Now, you don't even have to necessarily be a guest on another podcast, which is a whole other a whole other strategy that we could talk about, but that's not what this show is about. But there are ways that you can use podcasting as a strategy to amplify and expand your reach in your business. Like I said, that's a whole other episode, not what I'm talking about today. But if you want to know more about that, please reach out to me, support at aliciacouri.com, and we can have a conversation about all the many ways you can leverage podcasts. Remember, I said like 6 million on Spotify and several 100 million on YouTube, and over close to 500,000 on Apple TV. I mean, on Apple iTunes. Sorry, not Apple TV, Apple iTunes. This is run on Apple TV. This is also broadcast on Roku, Apple TV, YouTube, on Win Win Women channel. So it's reaching a lot of people. So, what are some of the benefits of leveraging podcasting in as part of your marketing strategy? So first, let me share some of these benefits because you can become a superstar in podcasts. Um, so it brings you credibility and authority. You know, when years ago I did media training, and the media training that I did was to get to book on TV, like local affiliates of ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox. And I did quite well booking myself in those arenas. And I also did quite well helping other people get seen, heard, and booked on those network stations as well. And so one of the things that getting booked by someone else, it raises your credibility and authority because it's not you now saying, "Hey, I'm an expert in this." It's someone else calling you an expert in the thing that you do. So that's how it raises your level of credibility and authority. And if you pick the podcast right, if you pick the right podcasts, it can really elevate your authority. All right. Um, you're having another benefit is you have access to a larger audience. So you're looking at those people who are listening to that podcast and who will share that podcast, as well as your audience, because you're going to share the podcast with your audience. So you're casting a wider net uh, of who can actually hear from you when you're leveraging another platform. And then, of course, the longevity, the absolute evergreen nature of a podcast is that someone could have filmed this podcast 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and it is still out there. So people will still get to know you and hear about you for a long time because as long as that podcast is up, it will continue to gain viewers and followers. And if you're like me, I'm a podcaster. And what I do is from time to time especially on our YouTube channel, is we cycle through and we update certain things in the description or the keywords or the titles or the thumbnails. And we just keep it fresh because when you do things like that, it pulls it back up in the feed and people start seeing it again. So if your interview was really powerful, what you shared in your interview was really uh, life changing, powerful, brilliant. Guess what? They're going to keep trying to keep that refreshed and keep cycling that over and over again. So you're going to continue to grow an audience share just by nature of doing it. So you have those four really uh, impressive benefits of using OPP, other people's podcasts, to leverage your brand and yourself. So credibility, uh, authority, access to larger audiences, and long-term visibility. So a minute ago, I talked about booking myself on TV, right? Well, those interviews were like 3 to 5 minutes long. And once I did the interviews, I was the one now trying to get access to that interview, trying to find it somewhere on their YouTube channel, and then having to push that out myself. Now, when you're doing a podcast, the host or the producer and host of that podcast is the one who's promoting that podcast. And so with you promoting it and then them promoting it, that increases the visibility and that longevity that I was telling you about. And you have a longer time to be on a podcast, even if that podcast is 15 minutes long, 20 minutes long, 30 minutes, it beats a 2 to 3 minute news segment in you being able to share your message in a very powerful way. So there are so many different positives to being able to leverage podcasting for your brand. Now, I'm going to share some mistakes that people make. And I've made them. But again, as a podcast host, as someone who's had my podcast for quite some time, and not just the podcast, but also web shows, been going live on social channels for several years now. Here are some mistakes that people make when trying to get booked as a guest. And I'm sharing some of these with you because I'm hoping that you don't make the similar mistake. Because yes, leveraging other people's podcasts is a brilliant idea, brilliant for your marketing strategy. But if you don't know how to do this correctly, if you don't know how to pitch yourself correctly, if you don't know how to show up correctly, it could be doing you more harm than good. Okay? So let's talk about 3 common mistakes that they make when trying to get on podcasts. Number 1, their pitch is very generic. And I get pitched all the time in emails using kind of a pitch service. And they send this generic templated email and attach the person's one pager, right? They'll attach the one pager that gives the bio, the photo, and maybe topics that they speak on. The thing with that is when you have generic company just pitching all shows, right? When you hire a company to just pitch you everywhere, it's kind of a spray and pray. And a lot of people might see your name and say, oh, no, they didn't even bother to pay attention to the podcast. They don't even know what the podcast's about. They're just pitching everybody. And that could be an automatic no. Even if you're the perfect guest for the show, it could be an automatic no if the pitch sounds very generic. So generic pitching is a huge, huge mistake. And I'm not saying spend a long time and a lot of time writing these very detailed pitches. You can have a standard pitch, but let's follow the 80-20 rule on this and have 80% of your pitch be the same thing that you're pitching to everyone, but then 20% be customized. So 20% of that pitch is where you're actually looking at the show and saying, oh, you know what? This will be a great show for me to be on because I think I have value for the audience. And that's the 20% that you're going to add into your pitch so that it's not generic. Okay? So having generic pitches, no. Ugh. As someone who gets them, hate them. I don't even like to respond to the emails. A lot of times people pitch you on the value of them. I'll be a great guest. I'm this and I'm that and I do all this stuff and I'm just going to be such a great guest for you. Well, you haven't once told me about why I should book you for my audience. Like, you've never asked me a question about my audience. You just are pitching yourself to be on the show. So, generic pitching and then just going all in on just pitching yourself and all your wonderful attributes, that's a mistake. You shouldn't be doing it that way. And then the third mistake I have for you is, so you've done the pitch, they've booked you, um, and now you're hopping on the interview and you've done zero prep, zero prep for the interview. So I I love spontaneity as much as the next cat out there. I love spontaneity. And whatever happens, happens. And I know my stuff, so I don't need to prepare, right? That could be a mistake. I would suggest that you prepare before the interview, at least by understanding what this podcast is about, who does it target, what have been some of the shows, some of the episodes. And I'm not saying that you need to tailor your message to something someone's already done, but at least understand the sort of cadence of the host and how they ask questions, and what would the audience be interested in knowing about, so that you're not just starting to tell random stories about stuff. One of the interesting things that happened to me when I was booking myself on TV is that I would share with the host not just my pitch, but also my talking points, right? Because TV, for television, and I don't, I probably for some people in podcasting, but for television specifically, they wanted to know what your talking points would be. Otherwise, the reporter would have to do some research, and it's you have a higher probability of being booked if you share your talking points, not just your pitch, but also your talking points, so that they don't have to do a ton of deep research. And so I remembered sharing my pitch and then my talking points. And in their introduction of me, as I'm standing there waiting to, share my big opening with my prepared first line that that we worked on, here they come introducing me, and they steal all my thunder. Like they said exactly what I was going to say to open up the segment, because of course they didn't do any research. They just took my talking points and made it theirs and shared my stuff. So I would say share your pitch, share the points that you want to make, but don't share all your talking points with the host. Keep your talking points for yourself, but at least have a framework of what those talking points are going to be, and understand what either case studies or stories or experiences that you're going to share within the framework of what your pitch was about. So walk in there prepared to share what you want to share. So um, I'm not saying all TV hosts are like that. I'm not saying that all podcast hosts are like that. That they'll. It's just that it's easier if someone gave you a full outline and all the talking points. Why shouldn't I just follow this? So that's just one of those buyer bewares. Need a little wet my whistle a little bit. So I wanted to talk about TV interviews, because one of the mistakes that you can make as a podcast guest is not treating it with the same reverence or the same importance as you would if you were booked on 60 Minutes. Let's just say you were booked on 60 Minutes. Would you just like, I'll just show up. I'll just show up and see what they do. Or will you prepare yourself? Will you like understand what the journey is that you want to take people through? You need to understand what is that journey? What is the arc? What is that? Because you want to keep people engaged in the the process. So many people listen to podcasts probably 5 minutes and shut off. If you want to keep them engaged for the whole 20 minutes, 30 minutes, hour, you've got to take people on a journey. And so, uh, if you're not prepared to do that, if you're not understanding the trajectory of the stories or case studies or how you're going to present your material, your expertise, your information during this show, and even if the host asks you a left field question, a question that came completely out of left field, if you're not prepared with how do I answer that and bring my audience, I say my audience because as long as you're on the podcast, you know, you are um you're not taking their, but you are the one that's guiding the audience through this journey. So how do you how do you bring that left field question right back to the point that you're trying to make, right back to your story, right back to that journey that you have them on? You know, the Wizard of Oz, they told Dorothy, follow the yellow brick road. And if she got off course, she knew to go right back to the yellow brick road. And so that's what you need. You need to have that breadcrumb trail so that they could get back to that yellow brick road that you started your journey with them on. Okay. So you need to be able to treat this podcast as uh, a 60 minutes interview or a 2020 interview or whatever, but treat it with that same reverence that you would if you had landed a Good Morning America interview or something like that. So if you are if you are pitching, make sure that you're pitching, and I'm just going to circle back to pitching because you need to understand that when you're pitching, you need to really allow them to see what the value that you're going to bring to their audience. What is that value? And then, of course, there are also other issues that can come up for you. And I know this comes up for several people. It's about just strictly visibility. It's like, yeah, this sounds like a great idea. I don't want to be on camera. Like I said earlier, there are thousands of just audio podcasts that you can be a part of. So that's not an issue. If visibility on a whole is a challenge for you, we've been doing shows the last month on visibility. So if you go to redcarpetceo.com, you go to our website, and you go to Audacious Confidence, you'll see the list of shows, and you can check out the last 3 episodes that we did. One is Visibility is Power. I'll give you some strategies to overcome your fear of visibility. Another one we did was Avoiding the Spotlight. Stop dimming your light. Again, chock full of strategies for overcoming if you find that you have a fear factor of being visible. So if you're thinking, yes, I want to try this, I want to do this, but then something is causing resistance and you're feeling that resistance and it's like, I don't know. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can do this. Go check out those 2 episodes. And then there's another one that we talked about called Unlock Your Power Persona for Visibility. You want to unlock that powerful person inside of you that wants to jump out and be visible, but you might be a little too hesitant to do it. So go check out those 3 episodes. They had some really powerful um, nuggets in there. And they also came with an action guide. So you can actually work through some of those challenges and check with the prompts that we have that you can work through some of those challenges. So if you go to redcarpetceo.com, you can check that out. Now, for the action guide for this episode, we're going to help you identify what are those keywords that you need to start searching those millions, hundreds of millions of podcasts that are out there. So you might see a sea of podcasts and wonder, oh my God, I'm paralyzed. I don't even know what to start. Where to start? What do I do? Okay. That's what that action guide is there to help guide you through that process so you don't feel paralyzed. You don't feel overwhelmed by just the massive volume of podcasts. Okay. So you're going to look for those keywords that your services, business, or even your story, what are those keywords that it falls into? And then you're going to search the podcasts based on those keywords or based on an industry. So if you know the industry that you want to target, then search for podcasts in those industries. Google is a great place to start. So just do a search, but that guide will help remove the overwhelm and help you kind of step you through ways that you can find the podcasts that are right for you to be guests on, and then narrow that down, and then you can start pitching based on the value that you're going to bring to the audience. Now, if you find that you're stuck at any point in this process and you want our feedback, you want my help with any of this, like I said, I've been producing my podcast for years now. And I've been going on live. I've been doing video web shows since 2016. So 9 years. And believe me, I did not start like this. I was the one who was afraid to look into the camera. When that camera light went on, when recording went on, I would freeze. I would get paralyzed. My voice would shake. My voice is trembly for a different reason today. I just have a tickle. But my voice would shake. My mind would go blank and I wouldn't know what to say. My heart would be racing. You have no idea how much my heart raced. And a lot of times it was like radio. So nobody was even seeing me and I was panicking. I was panicking. So if that's you, I understand it. This is 9 years, probably longer than 9 years because I did television interviews back in 2014. So 11 years of me overcoming my fear of visibility, overcoming my fear of cameras. And so I totally understand if you are wanting to do this, but just so afraid to take the step. I get it. I understand it. I was there. And you know what I did? I pushed myself off the cliff. I went straight into television. Like I booked myself to get on TV. I didn't book myself to do a podcast interview that was voice only. I went all the way to television. And yeah, that broke me out of my fear. But I'm not suggesting that everybody do that. Not everybody is that crazy like I am. But what I am saying is that I understand if there is a little freak out factor in this. That's why I suggested going back and listening to those other shows. And I'm also suggesting that if you want help with this, if you want help, to reach out, support at aliciacouri.com. Reach out to me and let me know. My team and I will respond to you and let us know if you need any coaching through this process or if you would like us to help you locate those podcasts, train you on being that magnetic guest that I know you can be. Reach out to us and let us know. And then last thing I'm going to say is there is a summit coming up for Win Win Women for International Women's Day. So go to internationalwomensday.org and register for tickets for that summit that is March 1st to March 8th. And you can use my name, Alicia C, as when it says referred by, and you can get a free ticket. So internationalwomensday.org and then put Alicia C to get your free ticket. All right, I'm a speaker. I'm going to be speaking on March 3rd, so hope to see you all there. But go register and get your ticket. And until our next show next week, I want to encourage you to be bold, to be brave, and every day to do one thing to step out with audacious confidence. And that one thing could be book your first podcast guest appearance. I'll see you next time on another episode of Unleash Your Audacious Confidence here on Win Win Women TV. Turnover. It's incredibly expensive for any organization, but especially those that are small and mid-size. If you're an organization and you're hiring, it's so important to get it right. You need to identify the right people for the right roles. Here at Audacious Concepts, Inc., we help you perfect your hiring process so you get it right every single time. Reach out to us at audaciousconceptsinc.com